Good evening, friends. Welcome to our Wednesday on our webinar series. Today is our third webinar on C programming. So in our earlier webinar, we have discussed arrays in C programming and pointers in C programming. And today we are going to discuss functions in C programming. Functions is a very important topic in C program, and also it is very important in case of campus recruitment. So in campus recruitment test, mostly in the online test, they will give you the function definition and you need to write the program only in the function block. So most of the companies campus recruitment, you need to write the function block only. So you need to understand what are the parameters you are getting in and what is the return type of that particular function. So if you're going to attend TCS or CTS or Wipro in 2020 batch, this function topic will definitely help you to go to next level in those online recruitment tests. So let's move on to our topic. So today we are going to discuss function and followed by types of function, and then I will explain you about how to create user-defined function. So we will discuss those topics followed by our code-based explanation. So we'll move on to code blocks IDE and execute some programs based on these function concepts. Okay, let's move on to our topic. So first one, what is functions? A function is a block of code that performs a specific task. So again, the function is same C program. So it has some set of statements that perform some specific task only for that particular time. So why we need to use this function in the program? So it's just to divide the complex problem into small components, and we have to make the problem easy to understand and use. So let's discuss a simple general example about the function. Consider you're going to office or you're going to maybe some place in a car and you're going to drive that car. So after starting from the home, you have to start the car. You have to control all the parts in the car, like steering, accelerator, brake, and you have to look for the traffic signal. You have to slow down in the speed brake, and you have to start again in the traffic signal. You may need to wait in the toll gate, and you need to start again. And once you reach some office, you have to look for some parking, and you need to stop the car and get down. So consider this is the process you are following to go to some place, like starting from your home and going to office. So instead of taking your own car and driving, if you call some cab and you're giving the control to the cab driver, so you are just getting into the car and the rest will be handled by the driver. So he takes the car and he will control all the parts of the car like steering, brake and clutch, and he stops during the traffic signal and will do the process during the toll gate, and then he starts the car again. He parks the car in the parking lot and you can get down. So instead of driving by yourself, you are giving the control to the another person and he is doing that particular part and you are getting the control back. So this is a simple example of function. So instead of doing all the works in the same program, you are dividing the program into small parts and you are calling whenever it is required. Similarly, if you are returning from the office, you can call the cab driver and give the control to him so you can get on the home. So this is the simple example for function. So instead of, in the technical point of view, instead of writing the code one by one and making the program complex, you are dividing the program into some small set of parts that will do only specific tasks. If you want to do that particular task, you can call that function at any time and do that particular task. So dividing a complex program into small parts is called a function. That function will do some specific tasks. Okay. Now, so what are the types of functions? So function class can be classified into many types. So first one, based on the definition, we can classify the function into two types. One is standard library function, another one is user-defined function. What is standard library function? So these functions are already defined in our C compiler. like printf, scanf, getch, and everything. So these we are not going to define any function. So these functions are already defined in C library, and that too in the header file like stdio.h, string.h, and other header files. So the functions which is already declared in C compiler is called standard library functions. Then second one is user defined function. It means we are going to define some set of function, and we will be discussing about this user defined function in upcoming slide in detail. So the second type is based on the return type and its arguments. So second type is with return type with arguments, and the other three combinations are with return type without arguments, without return type with arguments, without return type, and without arguments. So these are the four different combinations based on the return type and arguments. And the last type is call by value and call by reference. So these two are based on the function calling method. So we can classify the function into three major categories. One is based on definition. So in that there are two types. One is standard library functions, or we can say it as a built-in function. Second one is user-defined function. So based on the return type and the arguments, we can even classify the function into four types: with return type, with arguments, and other three combinations. So the last classification is call by value and call by reference. We will discuss one by one in the upcoming slides. Okay, first, what is standard library function? The standard library function is otherwise called as built-in functions. So built-in functions in C program used to handle the tasks such as mathematical calculations or computations, input-output processing, and string handling, and other etc. like file handling and other processes. So these functions are already defined in header files. So here is the example. So we have used printf, scanf in our previous examples, and these functions are defined in the file stdio.h. Similarly, there are functions like string concatenate, string length are defined in the file string.h. So these are the functions which is defined in some header files, and we can use it whenever it is interactive. So these functions are said to be standard library functions or built-in functions. So here, maybe you can remember these functions as if a name followed by bracket is a function, and this should not be a keyword like switch, for. These are all not functions. So a name, for example, add followed by some bracket, printf followed by bracket. So this is called a function. So a name followed by bracket is a function, and the name should not be a keyword. So you can remember and check what are the functions you have used in a program earlier. So we have used printf, scanf, getch, clear screen. These are all the functions we have used earlier in our program. So these functions are defined already in the header file, and if you want to use, you have to use the suitable header file for that particular function. stdio.h, string.h, math.h, alog.h. So there are many functions. You can check in the C help window to know more about these header files and the built-in functions. Now let's move on to user-defined function. So like the predefined function like printf, scanf, or getch, we can create some function like add, delete, or include anything. So C program allows programmers to create functions like built-in functions. So those functions are called user-defined function. We are going to define some function that is used only for some specific task. So there are three major steps in creating the user-defined functions. So first one is declaration, definition, and calling. So we need to declare a function. So it means we are going to tell the compiler about the function name, return type, and the parameters which we are passing. So while declaring a function, we need to include these three parameters again. First one, we need to give a function name. Second, we need to give the suitable return type. And third one, we need to give the suitable parameters. So while declaring function, we need to follow these three major verbs. Okay. So in the definition part, we are going to tell what is the actual work that particular function needs to do. So that will be given in the definition part. And calling is just we are invoking that function. If we want to use that process, we will be transferring the control from main function to that user-defined function. So if you want to create the user-defined function, we need to follow these 3 steps. First one is declaration. It is declare the function, define the function, and we need to call whenever it is necessary. So this is simple user-defined function. Let's discuss how to declare, define, and call this function. So here is the simple example on how user-defined function works. So we have declared a function. So here I have given a function name as function name, and this void is a return type. It means return type means after performing some task in this function is going to return some value. So we need to specify the type of value of this function's answer. For example, if you do int add and bracket, it means that this function is going to do some process and it returns an integer type to the main function. So that is called return type. Similarly, if you give float subtract followed by some process. So after performing some task, this function is going to return a float type value to the main function. So that is called return type. So this return type is the first part in the user-defined function. Then followed by you have to use any function name that should not be the keyword. So this function name is the reference. You have to give some meaningful name. Don't give some X, Y, or Z. Give some meaningful name. For example, get values, display results, calculate rank. So that should be the proper name, and if you read that name, you should understand what is the work that function does. Okay. Then you have to give the third parameter that should be given inside this bracket. So in this example, that is int add, inside bracket we have not given any parameters. So it means that this function is not going to receive any input from the main function. Instead of giving like this, if you give int add, if you give int some X, it means that this function is going to receive an integer type from the calling place, and after performing some work, it is going to return another integer type. Similarly, in this case, float sub character X, it means that we are going to receive a character type input from the user, and we are going to return a float type output to the user, output to the called place. So these 3 are the major part in function. So first one is return type. It could be anything like void, int, float, character, long double, long in, whatever it is. So this should be any data type followed by function name, and that should be the proper name to understand the function process. Similarly, inside bracket we have to give the required parameters. Okay, so here we have completed our function. So we need to write the code for this particular function to add the program or delete or whatever the process. We need to write the statements inside this bracket. So whenever we need the function, we have to call this function by giving the function name followed by bracket and if required parameters. So this is the simple user-defined function. So we have to, as I said earlier in the previous slide, we have to declare the function, we need to define, and we need to call the function whenever it is required. So here is the 4 types of functions which we have discussed. First we started with inbuilt function, followed by user-defined function, and then I have explained you about the return type in this slide. So return type, function name, and these parameters is always called as argument. So based on this, we will be discussing 4 types of functions here. So first one is with return type, with arguments, with return type, without arguments, without return type, and with arguments. So I will write the declaration part of this function. So here we have with return type, with arguments. So if you declare a function like this, int add and int x, int y, this. So if you declare a function like this, comes under the category of with return type and with arguments. So this function is going to return some values. So this integer is the return type. Here we are receiving some input from the user. It means that we are having some arguments inside the parenthesis. So it is with arguments. So next type is we are having with return type and without arguments. So int, we are having the return type add. Without arguments, we are not going to give any input to this function. So we will be having only return type as int, function name followed by open and close brackets. We don't give any values inside this. So this comes under the category of with return type and without arguments. Next, without return type and with argument. So in this case, we need to use void for without return type followed by name. Then inside this bracket we need to give some values, int x, int y. It means that we are having some arguments. So this function is going to receive some input from the user. So close this bracket. And fourth type is void, that is without return type, function name followed by without arguments. Just get it. So these are the four other types of function that is based on the declaration. So here first one is we are having a return type and we are having argument. So with return type with argument. Second one, we are having the return type, we don't have any arguments. So with return type without arguments. Third one is we have given void. So it means that without return type and with arguments. Here without return type without arguments. So these four are the types of function based on its return type and arguments. Let's move on to our code blocks IDE and discuss how to handle this function and how to declare these four types of function, and we'll try to convert one type of function to other type of function in the code blocks IDE itself. So let's move on to code blocks IDE. So here is the simple program to add two numbers. So in this program, we have used three variables, int a, b, c. So we are going to get the input for a and b, and we'll add a with b. That will be stored in C, and we are going to display the result in the C. So this is the basic program to add two numbers. Now let's try to convert this program as a function based program. So here we need to do three steps. First one, we need to declare and define and then call the function. So I'm going to do those three steps. So first, I have created a function name, int, function name is add. I'm given the return type as integer, and inside parameters I have given two integer variables. It means this function comes under the category of with return type with arguments. So we are having some return type and we are getting some input from the user. So we are getting some arguments. So function name is add, we are having return type and we are getting some input. So in this program, where we have declared one more variable int z, and we are adding these two received values, that is x and y, and we are returning z because z is an integer type. So this is a type and this should match properly. So here is the main function. We got the input from the user, and instead of adding the value here, we have to call the function. So C equal to, instead of a plus b, I'm going to call the function by using add, and then I need to give two inputs. So declaration and definition is here. We are going to call the function from this place. So add a comma b. So while executing this statement, the control from this place moves to function, and it will complete the process and it returns the remaining value to this function. So this is the simple program by using the function concept. So here the values, we have given the variables as a, b, but actually the copy of value will enter into this function. So the return value will be stored in C and it will print here. So let's execute this program. So I'm entering some numbers 4 and 5. The result is 9. So first the program starts execute from this line, and once it reaches at a comma b, the control will be transferred from the main program to the function, and it processes the value, returns to the main function, and it will display the result. So this is the simple program to demonstrate the functions work. So in this program we have used with return type and with arguments type concept. Let's modify this program to other three types. So now let's convert this with return type with argument function into other three different models. So let's convert this function into with return type without arguments. Without argument means we should not give any value inside this bracket. So I'm removing this. So this function is not going to receive any input from the calling place. So in the calling place also I'm just removing the number. So we are not going to send any value from this main function to the sub function. So there is no use of scanf here. And we need to get some input to complete this process. So I'm going to get the input from the user in function itself. Declare those two variables. So in this function, I'm going to call without any arguments. So the control will go to sub function and it will get the input from the user in this function and complete the process. Then it will return the answer. So I'm executing the function. So I'm giving values. It is printing the output. So this is with return type and without arguments. Let's convert this program to without return type and with arguments. So int x, int y, since I have declared variable here, so I can remove these two declaration. I'm going to change this without return type. So I'm just making it as void. So since we are getting the input from the user, no need of the scanf here. So I'm going to process this addition and then I'm printing the result. It is %d and I'm going to print result here. So and then we are not going to return any value, so no use of this return statement also. Here I need to get the input from the user because I need to send values inside this function. So I'm making it as a and b. So this function is not going to return any value. So this statement needs to be removed. And there is no use of print statement here. So this is the program without return type and with arguments. Let's execute this program. So here I'm entering values and getting the same result. So this is the third type of program. Now let's convert this program into without return type and without arguments. It means that we are not going to send any value inside the function and we are not going to get any output from the function. So we need to complete everything inside this function itself. So I'm declaring record variable here. I'm going to get the input and I'm going to print the result here itself. So no need to get the input from here, and then this can also be removed. So we are just going to call the function only. So all other process will happen within this function. So function without return type and without argument. So getting the input from the user and processing and then finally displaying the output inside the function itself. We are not going to return anything to the main function, as well as we are not going to send anything into the sub function. So there is no use of declaring this statement also. We're just calling the function from the main function. That's it. So this is the fourth type of program. Let's execute this also. 4 and 5. We are getting the same result. So these are the 4 types of functions based on its return type and its argument. Okay, so you can use this concept in upcoming topic also, that is call by value and call by procedure. So everything combined will give you a better result. So let's discuss other 2 types of function which is based on calling. Okay, let's move to the slide and we'll come back to the code blocks ID later. The type of function which is based on calling. Okay, so there are two types. The first one is call by value and second one is call by reference. So in call by value, even though if you pass some value inside the function, that value's copy is going to enter into the function. So the values of actual parameters are copied to the function's formal parameters. So in the memory location, it will be considered as two different parameters. So in call by value, if you send some values inside the function, the actual value is not going inside the function. The copy of that value is going inside the function and it involves in the process. So in the backend, that is in the memory location, two different set of memory will be allocated for this process. So the copy of value is entering into the function and it's returning the value to the main function. So it means that if you make any change inside the function to that particular variable, that won't reflect in the actual main function. So this is the concept of call by value. Now, what is call by reference? In call by reference, we are sending the variable's address. So if you make any change in that particular address, that will be reflected in the main function also. So both actual parameter and the formal parameter, that is the parameter which is passing inside the function, refers to the same memory location in call by reference. So as I said earlier, the changes made inside the function will be reflected in the main function also. So in call by value, we are just sending the copy of the value. In call by reference, we are sending the actual value's address. So the changes if you are making inside the function will be reflect if and only if you send by reference or address. If you use call by value, that will not reflect in the main function. Let's discuss this with a simple example by using code blocks IDE. We will discuss swapping concept program to understand this concept in a better way. Let's move on to code blocks IDE. Here is a simple program to swap two variables by using the function. Let me explain the program first, then we'll move on to the concept. So here is the main program. I'm getting two inputs from the user. I'm having a printf statement to print two variables before and after swapping. So this first printf prints two values before swapping, and the second printf prints two values after swapping. So in between these two, I am calling the function swap. So as per our previous example, you can understand this function as a without return type and with arguments. So we are not going to return any values to the function, and we are sending some values inside the function. Okay. So here I'm getting the input and I'm just printing the letters here. So if I enter some 4 and 5, this 4 and 5 will be passed into this function. By using this logic, this value will be swapped, and I'm having another printf to print the output. So let's execute this program and understand what is happening. So I have entered 4 and I have entered 5. So these two are values of A and B. So now come back to this. So here I have entered two inputs. Before swap, A equal to 4 and B equal to 5. After swap, A equal to 4 and B equal to 5. So it means that this function sends the copy of value inside the subfunction. So the swapping happened only in the copied memory location. So while explaining in the slide, I said that it will be placed in two different memory locations. So that is different memory location, and the value inside the main function will be in different location. So this swapping is not reflected in the main function, even though we have called the swap function. Now let's convert this call by value function into call by reference. It means that we are going to send the address of these variables. So instead of directly sending the A and B, I'm sending the address of A and B here. So if you are sending address into the function, you need to use pointer variable. We cannot simply store the variable name in address in ordinary variable. So these we have discussed in our previous webinar. So now address of A and address of B will be sent inside this function, and here we are going to handle with pointer. So value in this particular address. Similarly, I am just replacing this with pointer variables. So we have discussed about the usage of star and ampersand symbol in our previous webinar. If you have doubt related to pointers, you can watch those webinars. That is available in our YouTube channel and Facebook page. You can watch it anytime. So here I am sending the address of A and B to this function. I am receiving it and doing the swapping operation. Now let's execute this program. So I'm entering two numbers. Here the values are swapped. Before swap A equal to 4 and B equal to 5. After swap A equal to 5 and B equal to 4. So here the changes happened in the subfunction also reflected in the main function. It means that there is only one memory location, and in previous scenario these two variables are occupied in two different memory locations. That's why the changes we made in the one memory location is not reflected in another one, but in case of call by reference it referred to the same memory location. So the changes happened in the function will also reflect in the main function also. So this is the basic concept of call by reference and call by value. So try to practice more programs by using the function concept, because in campus recruitment test you will be getting only this function definition. So you don't get these codes, and simply they will ask you to write a swapping program by giving this definition. So if you see this definition, definitely you have to use the pointer concept. But in case if you see the declaration like this, you have to use the ordinary swapping method. So you have practiced more problems in arrays, pointers and loops, etc. So try to convert those programs into function based program. You can send one parameter, two parameter or three parameter, and try to do the maximum program by using this function concept. Even you can convert the basic programs into the function based programs, like greater than biggest among three numbers, simple interest program, and whatever it is. So you can convert all the basic programs into function based program, and that will help you to go to next level in your campus recruitment test. So here is the details of placement season course, which we have designed exclusively for 2020 batch. We have designed 6 courses that will help you to crack IT as well as product companies. In the first, programming for placement advanced, and in programming for placement beginner course, you will be getting that test which will help you to crack the top IT service as well as product companies. So if you are trying to crack IT service company, we suggest you to practice the test in programming for placements beginner. And if you want to crack IT product companies, and we suggest you to practice tests in the programming for placement advanced course. So similarly, this aptitude for placement is suitable for those who are trying for IT service as well as product company, and even if you are trying for some GATE exam or competitive exam, this aptitude for placements will help you to improve your aptitude skills. In this aptitude for placements, you will be getting quants, reasoning and verbal tests, and these tests are categorized according to the difficulty level. We will be getting level 1, level 2 and level 3 difficulty level questions. So these tests are categorized according to the topic, and you can practice the topics which you feel it is difficult for you. So these 3 are the tests, and in this test we have given the video solution for the programming questions. You can watch those videos if you have some doubt. And these 3 are the preparatory course which will help you to understand the basic concepts of the programming language. So it is C, C++ and Java programming preparatory course. It will have videos, concept videos. You can watch those videos and take practice test as well as assessment test in this programming preparatory course. So the details of all these courses are available in this link, po.st/ps course. You can take the screenshot of this page if required and share it with your friends if they are ready to practice these tests. So you can take screenshot if it is required and watch the details about these course in the link given here. So if you want to practice those tests, you can purchase using this discount coupon code Skill Up Early 15. You will be getting 15% discount in all the test packages. So as I said in the beginning, we have some free resources that will help you to crack the campus recruitment easily. So we conduct company specific mock test on every Sunday, and this mock test series has started on January 6th, and many students have started to take test. More than 5,000 students are taking test on every week, and we will be giving the complete analysis and solution on the next day of the test. So if you are taking test on Sunday, again visit the website on Monday to get the complete analysis and solution of the test. We will be also releasing the toppers list. You can watch the toppers list and compare the score of topper with your mark. Then here is the registration link of our free test. Again, I'm saying that you can take the screenshot and share it with your friends if it is required. The link to our free test is po.st/free test. So these are the free tests available in our placement season for your preparation. Similarly, we conduct this live webinar on every Wednesday at 8 p.m. You can watch this video in our YouTube channel, and you can watch the recorded video also. We are having many concept videos and recruitment pattern based video in our YouTube channel. So this video is available in our YouTube channel as well as our Facebook page. You can watch it anytime. So see you in next webinar. Thank you, friends.